As you can see, I'm pregnant. And Tom and I thought it would be magical to find out whether we're having a boy or a girl with our two children, Frankie, who's 3, and Billy, who's 1. So when we had the results, we gathered the girls together and we had our gender reveal balloon ready to pop. If we popped it and pink feathers came out, we were having a girl. But if we popped it and blue feathers came out, we were having a boy. So excitedly, we popped the balloon and blue feathers went everywhere. We were having a boy. However, Frankie was not so pleased. And she let us know it. She threw herself on the floor, wailing, "I don't want a boy. I don't like blue. I want a girl. I want pink." So you might be wondering where on earth I'm going with this and why I'm telling you this story. Well, it just goes to show that when we're told news we don't want to hear in a way we don't like, when it's a complete surprise to us, us humans have a hard time processing it. Now, we don't usually, as adults, throw tantrums like my Frankie did, but we do make noise about it. We might tell our friends and family or use our reach on social media. If it's news from our employer, we might leave that company. Or if it's from a brand that we like, we might stop using that brand and switch suppliers altogether. So how do we give bad news the good way? Well, today I want to give you 3 pieces of advice about how to deliver bad news in a good way. Rather than just tell you what that advice is, I'm going to use an example from the British coffee shop chain Pret a Manger to illustrate 3 things that they did in a bad news communication they had to give. Last year, Pret a Manger had to announce they were increasing the price of their coffee subscription from £20 a month to £25 a month. This could have really upset their customer base, but the way they positioned the news made their customers stay with them. So what did Pret do when they were delivering their bad news? Firstly, they were honest and they were clear. Pret didn't call the news a price adjustment or a price change. They called it what it was, a price increase. They didn't try and bamboozle their customers with percentages or confusing languages. They told it exactly how it was. They were clear and they were simple in the words they used. It's scary to do so, but people appreciate honesty. And using unclear language can lead to distrust, which is something we really need to avoid in our communications. Pret also gave a really clear explanation as to why this price increase was happening. When we're given the context for something, it really helps us to be able to process it and get behind it. So don't be afraid to talk about the pressures that you face. We all know about the rising cost of living, the rising cost of raw materials and inflation. But talking clearly about something and giving people the reasons behind it makes their perception of it a lot better. So to give an example of a company who recently were perceived as not being clear and honest, Cadbury's changed the size of some of their multi-pack chocolate bars. They made the chocolates smaller, saying it was a move to tackle obesity, but they kept the price point the same. This caused some of their customers to question why they hadn't changed the price, but had changed the size of the chocolate bars. And they turned to Twitter, which amplified the bad news and made it even bigger, which is something we want to avoid. So be honest and be clear. Secondly, give reassurance. Change can make people feel uneasy and uncertain, so make sure you're giving a positive message about the future. The way Pret did this was that they told their customers that nothing aside from the price of their coffee was changing. They were still continuing to invest in their staff and they were still providing really good quality coffee at a really affordable price. And finally, think about how you give the bad news. My 3-year-old did not like having the bad news sprung on her, and neither did Twitter's employees when they were locked out of the work accounts before being told that they're being made redundant. So ensure you give your audience time to get used to the news before it comes into effect. Pret gave 6 weeks before the price rise came into effect for their customers to get used to it, which feels like a really healthy amount of time. So do what's right for your communication and your audience. And think about the channel that you use when you deliver your message. Email is right for Pret, but what's right for your message and your audience? One-to-one's always best. But how about, if you can't do that, a video from the CEO or a senior board member? Whether you're talking to Gen Z or baby boomers, what 3 things do you need to keep in mind when you're writing a bad news communication? Firstly, be clear and be honest. Secondly, give reassurance. And thirdly, think about how your audience would like the message to be delivered. Perhaps I should have taken my own advice when I told Frankie the news that she was going to have a baby brother. But then I wouldn't have this video to embarrass her with in the future.